Millionaire ignores street girl. Then he's shocked when her simple meal wins his heart. Alex Sterling strode through the bustling streets of downtown, surrounded by the chaos of people and cars. A newspaper headline echoed in his mind: Millionaire ignores street girl, as if challenging him to look up from his carefully curated world of luxury and success. Today, autumn's chill wrapped around him, and vibrant leaves danced like confetti, swirling through the air as he walked alone. He felt a tightness in his chest that he couldn't shake, a strange emptiness warring with the sparkle of his diamond-studded cufflinks. His eyes flitted past shops displaying the latest trends. But something caught his gaze, an inconsequential scene just off the sidewalk. A young girl, perhaps no more than 8, sat on the cold pavement with a simple plate of steaming soup cradled in her small hands. Her name was Lily, and the way she savored each spoonful, her eyes closing in bliss, contrasted stark. He turned, and the sight before him stopped him in his tracks. Lily was now sharing her precious meal with a ragged group of stray animals, a stray cat and a few scruffy dogs. They circled her, tails wagging, eyes wide in gratitude, as she giggled, offering her food with no hesitation. A lump formed in Alex's throat, a sensation he thought he'd buried long ago. Here was someone truly living, giving from a seemingly infinite heart. While he was stuck in a whirlwind of managed appearances, suddenly, that serene moment erupted into chaos. A street vendor barked accusations, his thick voice slicing through the laughter. "You stole that food!" he shouted, pointing an angry finger at Lily. For a heartbeat, everything stilled. Eyes turned, judging. The air thickened with tension, and resentment bubbled beneath the surface of the crowd. Alex felt his pulse quicken. Would he intervene? Would he speak up for this girl with the vibrant spirit who was being crushed under the weight of someone else's anger? He felt the heat rising within him, the push and pull of his social status battling against a burgeoning sense of empathy. A chill ran down his spine as he watched her expression shift from joy to confusion, her wide eyes flickering with fear. What was a mere meal if it could unravel the seams of a perfect life? As he stood there, poised on the brink of a decision that could alter everything, the unanswered question hung in the air, heavy like the autumn clouds above. Hey, before you continue with this incredible story, I have an important warning for you. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And while you're at it, leave a like too. Your participation makes a difference. Let's interact. As Alex stood frozen in the tangled web of the moment, the tension twisted around him like a tightening noose. The vendor's voice roared out accusations that echoed in his chest. "You stole that food!" A murmur spread through the crowd, eyes darting back and forth between Lily and the vendor, judgment crackling in the air. Lily's small frame trembled as fright washed over her, and Alex felt a surge of something he hadn't anticipated, a fierce protectiveness. He could step forward, he could say something, but just as he opened his mouth to intervene, a crash shattered the fragile silence. From the corner of his eye, Alex saw a flash of movement, an unkempt man stumbling through the crowd, his arms flailing like a windmill. A hooded figure, previously lost in the sea of faces, suddenly broke free and lunged. The man collided with the vendor, knocking the food cart over. Items spilled everywhere. Fruit, bread, sauces, creating... "You ruin everything!" the vendor bellowed, scrambling to regain control. But the man's wild eyes weren't on the vendor. They were locked on Lily, glowing with panic. "Run! Get out of here!" he yelled, his voice raw and desperate. Everything seemed to blur then. The crowd gasped collectively as the vendor stumbled back, losing balance and falling onto the cart. A torrent of soup splattered against the ground, steaming up into the cold air. Yeely's expression shifted from shock to realization, a glint of despair flickering across her face as the carefully saved meal washed away. Then, in a shocking twist, the man's hood fell back. Alex's heart dropped. He recognized him. It was Tom, a childhood friend he hadn't seen in years. Someone he thought had disappeared after a turbulent upbringing. Tom's eyes were wide, filled with a mix of fear and something darker. Something Alex couldn't grasp. Lily stood frozen, the chaos around her fading into the background. The vendor cried out, still floundering on the ground, while the stray animals circled around, confused and hesitant. The crowd murmured, whispers heating up the air, like a match struck too close to dry timber. "What's going on?" someone from the crowd asked, voice quivering with intrigue. Alex took a tentative step forward, unsure. Memories washed over him. Happy times spent with a bright-eyed Tom who loved to dream. The man in front of him was a ghost, lost in shadows. "Tom," Alex murmured, feeling the weight of disbelief settling in. It was one thing to ignore a problem, to skirt past discomfort. But this was different. Tom turned his gaze toward Alex. Recognition sparked, but there was no warmth in his eyes, only anguish. "You don't understand," he said, his voice breaking. "I was trying to help her." The implication wrapped around Alex like a cold wind, snapping his heart tightly. What had Tom been trapped in? What life had forced him to protect a street girl, while Alex had warped himself in wealth? The crowd began to press in, eager for the unfolding drama, casting shadows over the wrecked food and stunned expression of Lily. Fear and curiosity swirled together as Tom squared his shoulders. "They'll never see it like we do. You, standing there with your suits and deals, you think you own it all?" A surge of disbelief rushed through Alex. Did he really think he could walk away from this? Could he ignore the clear light of compassion for the ugly truth that he might not know the whole story? With every heartbeat, questions flooded his mind. What did Tom know? What secrets tangled them into this moment? The world spun, and everything he thought he understood began to erode like the soup pooling at their feet. Was it possible that the simple meal that had drawn him in could reveal truths that would haunt him? Would he unravel the threads of his own life to understand hers? As the murmurs grew louder, he could feel the air shifting, and the question loomed larger than ever. What was the real price of compassion? As the murmurs of the crowd swirled like a tempest, Alex felt an invisible tether pulling him away from the chaos. His mind raced. A confusion of past and present colliding like waves crashing against the shore. Tom's eyes held a depth that seemed to cry out for, "You don't know what you're doing." It sliced through the air, sharp and demanding. Everyone turned to see a woman pushing through the crowd, her face twisted with anger and indignation. She stepped up to Tom, hands on her hips, defiance igniting her gaze. "This is your fault." A wave of shock rippled through the onlookers. "Who is she?" someone whispered. "I know who you are and what you did." The words flew out of her mouth like a sharp arrow striking deep. "You think you can just show up and fix everything with your chaos?" "I was trying to protect her." Tom's voice quivered, a raw edge of panic emerging. He glanced at Lily, now trembling like a leaf caught in an autumn wind. The woman took a step closer, fingers trembling with emotion. "You're a coward, Tom. You can't keep running from your past. You're not the hero you think you are. You just drag everyone down with you." Just then, chaos erupted once again. A figure sprinted into view, clearly agitated. It was a police officer, hand raised, ordering everyone to disperse. "Step back, everyone clear out." His voice rang out, loud and authoritative. As shouts swallowed the air, everything sank deeper into disarray. Alex's heart raced, a tight knot forming in his chest. He wanted to help, but his feet felt plant-rooted to the ground. The faces around him morphed into a blur of confusion and fear, all eyes darting from the policeman to the figure standing in the center of the storm. "Tom!" he shouted, finally finding his voice amid the tempest. "What's going on?" But before Tom could respond, the woman whirled around, her face a mask of fury and pain. "It's not just about him, it's about all of us." She pointed toward Lily, who stood frozen, tears brimming in her eyes. "She deserves better than this madness. And you too, Alex." The last words struck Alex like a thunderclap. How did she know his name? The crowd around him buzzed with whispers, judgmental eyes scanning him like a suspicious flame. "Wait, how do you know me?" he stammered, disbelief crashing through him. The confirming look on her face knocked the breath from his lungs. "Because I know everything, Alex. The life you never realized you were part of. Your family, our ties. Your choices have led you here, to this moment." A choking silence descended, the air thickening with an understanding far beyond just a rift of social classes. "Your family? What are you talking about?" Confusion tangled with fear within him. Could it be true? The past he thought he'd escaped, wrapped up in privilege and wealth, was suddenly clawing its way back into reality. Lightning bolts of rumination shot through him, illuminating dark corners of his life. Who was this woman saying these things? Was he truly intertwined in something larger? Something that tied him to the tattered lives he'd turned away from? "Stop!" he shouted again, this time louder, desperate to rewind the clock or stop it altogether. "Talk to me, please!" But before he could fully grasp the implications of her words, a commotion erupted. The officer lunged forward, grabbing Tom by the arm. "You're coming with me." The crowd gasped, tension crackling like a live wire. Alex's heart pounded in his ears. Did Tom really have something to hide? What truth lurked just beneath the surface. And what of Lily, the innocent, caught in the storm? All the pieces spun wildly, racing out of his control. And as the crowd began to disperse, one question remained heavy in the air. What was the real nature of the ties that bound them all together? As the police officer grabbed Tom's arm, the crowd held its breath, hearts drumming in unison. Alex could feel the weight of every gaze boring into him. "What's going on?" he shouted again, but the chaos swallowed his words. Tom struggled against the officer's grip. "I wasn't trying to hurt her. I just wanted to protect her." The anguish in his voice made Alex's chest tighten. But then, suddenly, everything shattered. A loud crash pierced the atmosphere. A nearby shop window exploded outward, shards of glass glinting in the afternoon light like fallen stars. Gasps echoed through the throng as the people instinctively ducked and recoiled, their minds racing. Amid the panic, a figure bolted out through the opening, dark hair wild, clothes ragged yet purposeful. It was a girl, not much older than Lily, darting through the crowd. Her expression? A grim determination that sent a shiver down Alex's spine. She wasn't just a bystander. She was part of this tangled story. "Get away from him!" she yelled, her voice fierce and commanding. The world seemed to stop as eyes turned to her, their surprise mingling with fear. "Who is that?" someone whispered. The murmurs swirled through the air, a low thunder before a storm. But she was already upon them, her presence magnetic. "You don't understand," she continued, her wild eyes scanning the crowd, then landing on Tom. "You're all missing it. He's trying to save her life." The intensity in her voice sent ripples throughout the gathering. Alex felt his skin prickle. It was as if something buried deep within him was suddenly clawing to escape. "Save who?" he pressed, masking his confusion with urgency. "What do you mean?" The girl locked onto his gaze, and he saw the spark of desperation igniting a fire inside those fearful eyes. "Lily! She's in danger! You all are!" The crowd gasped again, murmurs rising to a roar. "What danger? From whom?" someone shouted, voice trembling with incredulity. But before she could respond, she darted closer to Tom, who looked as bewildered as the rest of them. "We have to go! Now! What do you know?" Tom's voice cracked, panic fueling his urgency. The girl inhaled sharply, words spilling out in a rush. "They'll come for you, Tom, just like last time. They'll take you again." A shudder ran through the crowd. Fear clutched at Alex's heart, wild and untamed. Who was this girl? What dark secrets tied her to Tom? "They're not after just him," she continued, urgency lacing her voice. "They're after Lily, too. You have to listen." At that moment, a chilling breeze swept through the street, as if the very air knew what was coming. Tensions reached a boiling point. "What the hell is she talking about?" someone in the crowd demanded, eyes flashing with uncertainty. "Lily isn't just any girl. She's connected to something bigger, something hidden." The girl pressed, her voice trembling but resolute. "You think this is just about a stolen meal? It's life and death." A heavy silence descended, as if the world held its breath. Alex felt that hollow tightness in his chest deepen, twisting around his heart. Could Lily have secrets that even he didn't know? As if on cue, sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder, spiraling into the present moment like a storm's approach. Tom turned to Alex, desperation clouding his brow. This isn't just a random accident, Alex. There are people who have been watching us. Before he could reply, the glass from the shattered window lay like jagged stars on the pavement. The officer tightened his grip on Tom, the chaos creeping back. Enough! We need to... But the crowd had begun to disperse, fear driving them away from the gathering storm. And then it hit. The girl's eyes glowed with a flicker of recognition as she locked eyes with Lily. "You don't know, do you?" she whispered, almost to herself. "You were never safe." Alex felt the air grow heavy, suspense thickening between them like thick fog. What truth was locked away? Who was Lily, really? And how intertwined were their lives with this darkness looming over them all? As the first police figures rushed in, confusion and urgency swallowed the air. The unanswered questions echoed in Alex's ears, growing louder as he realized the magnitude of what lay hidden just beneath the surface. What shadow loomed over their lives? And could anyone escape its grasp? As the chaos unfolded, Alex's heart raced, pulsating loudly in his ears. He could feel all eyes on him, curious, judging, desperate. The girl's warning echoed in his mind, drowning out the panic swirling around them. She's connected to something bigger. What did that mean? His stomach twisted in knots. Tom yanked his arm free from the officer's grasp, eyes darting between the girl and Lily. "You need to listen to her." He sounded frantic, almost pleading. Alex took a step closer, urgency coursing through him. "Tom, what do you mean?" "Just connect the dots, Alex," Tom shouted, desperation spilling from him like water from a broken dam. The meal wasn't stolen, it was given. Suddenly, a heavy thump broke through the tension like thunder. The ground shook, vibrations rattling through Alex's bones. A black van screeched to a halt near the edge of the crowd, tires skidding against the pavement. The doors flung open, and men in dark uniforms emerged, faces stern and determined. Alex felt the air freeze, the crowd backing away, as if the van carried a deadly secret. Fear hung thick like smoke. "Get away!" someone screamed. Everything moved like a slow-motion film. The officer's attention swung toward the new threat, while the dark-suited men fanned out. "Clear out! Move!" one of them barked, voice laced with authority. "What do they want?" Lily's small voice broke through the panic, trembling. Alex felt a lump in his throat. Would they take her too? Whispers of confusion rippled across the crowd, eyes darting anxiously. "Tom!" the girl shouted, her tone sharper now. "We don't have much time!" But before he could respond, one of the men lunged forward. "Where is she?" he demanded, cutting through the mayhem. "Where's the girl?" A collective gasp swept through the onlookers, like a wave crashing on shore. "Who?" Tom shouted back. But Alex didn't need more. It hit him like a brick. No, they can't mean Lily. The world around him blurred, faces grew hazy, and the thump of his heart echoed louder in his ears. His mind raced. Lily was just a child, innocent. Then, as if time itself snapped, the girl stepped forward. She's not just a street girl. You have no idea! The man's expression shifted, anger and recognition dawning like a storm on the horizon. You don't know what you're involved in, do you? We know everything about her. Who she is, what she holds. The crowd buzzed, whispering ragged pieces of words. What does she hold? Who is she really? Alex felt the air ignite with confusion and fear. Tell me, what's going on? He cried out, reaching for Tom's shoulder. But just as Tom opened his mouth to reply, the girl spun around, her eyes casting a wild glance at Lily. They're looking for the sapphire. Silence swept the crowd, a heavy blanket that stifled all noise. The sapphire? Alex echoed, a cold dread snaking up his spine. What sapphire? No, no! Tom shouted, realization dawning in a rush. Lily, you can't! Before he could finish, Lily's hand slipped into her pocket, a faint glimmer catching the light. Alex's breath caught. Lily, what do you have? With trembling hands, she pulled out a small, ornate piece that sparkled like a drop of midnight. This, she said, holding it out as if it could bridge all gaps. But it only intensified the chaos. The man took a step closer, eyes focused and wild. Hand it over. We don't have time. Alex felt like he'd been punched in the gut. No! You can't take that from her! He yelled, raw panic filling his voice. But all at once, the urgency shifted. A noise cut through the crowd, an explosion, flames leaping into the sky. With a terrifying roar, everything turned to chaos. Lights flickered, shadows danced, and screams filled the air. And just like that, everything spiraled out of control. The stakes rose. Alex could feel it in his bones. Trust shattered like fragile glass. Relationships tangled up in lies, buried secrets clawing to the surface. As smoke filled the air, the questions hung heavy around them. What was the true nature of the girl they thought they knew? How had they all become tangled in a game far larger than any of them had realized? And could they escape the dark force now racing toward them? The secrets, buried deep, began to rise, flooding the space between them, leaving only one possibility. Something would change everything. As the flames licked skyward, casting eerie shadows across the street, panic gripped the crowd. The air turned thick, heavy with smoke and fear. Alex stood there, heart pounding, desperate to understand the truth unraveling right before him. "What do we do?" he shouted, but no one had the answer. The two dark-suited men moved closer, eyes scanning frantically over the crowd. "Where is she?" one barked again, voice taut with desperation. "The girl is the key! We have to find her! Lily?" Tom shouted, reaching out to her. "Give me the sapphire! It's too dangerous!" But before she could react, chaos erupted. The girl, the one who had warned them, suddenly stepped in front of Lily, blocking her with a fierce determination. "No, you can't have it." In that split second, everything changed. The ground shook beneath them, the sound of an explosion from the distance, reverberating like angry thunder. Alex's breath was stolen as the girl's fierce stance transformed into a blur. She reached into her own pocket, pulling out a small device. "I'm not letting them take her!" "What are you doing?" Tom yelled, panic infusing his voice with urgency. "Trust me," she shouted back, her eyes blazing with fiery will. Then, in an instant, she activated the device. A blinding light erupted around them, washing over everything like a wave washing over a shore. People recoiled, screams erupting through the air as the blinding flash consumed sight. When the brightness faded, the crowd stood in stunned silence. The scene reformed, but it was not the same. The van that had threatened them was gone. The dark-suited men were nowhere to be seen. Instead, the street had transformed into a serene park. Vines draping down from towering trees while blossoms swayed in an inviting breeze. "What just happened?" murmured someone from the crowd. Confusion echoed in their voice. Alex blinked, trying to process what he was seeing. One moment, chaos screamed. The next, peace settled around them like a thick blanket. Lily stood beside him, eyes wide with astonishment, clutching the sapphire tightly. The girl who had stood between them was gone. "Where did she go?" he gasped, scanning the area. The crowd murmured in a whirl of disbelief and bewilderment. They were all caught in the aftermath of a transformation that felt unreal. Then something pulled at Alex's memory. She's not just some girl, is she?" he whispered, realization gnawing at him. The sapphire in Lily's hand gleamed menacingly. A flood of questions surged through Alex's mind. Had they fallen into her trap? Was she more than just a street girl? Tom looked shattered, shock and desperation washing over his face. "She could control all of it. I should have known." "Control what?" Alex pressed, anxiety clawing at his throat. "What are you talking about?" Suddenly, a louder voice cut through the confusion, a booming proclamation that silenced murmurs. "Lily, you are the one we've been searching for!" Everyone turned as a figure emerged from behind the trees. Clad in regal attire, a man's presence radiated authority. "The Hidden One," he announced, eyes locking onto Lily. The crowd shifted, absorbing the implications. "What does that mean?" Alex asked, brow furrowing in deep confusion. Lily's reaction was stunned silence. Her tiny hands trembled as the air thickened with unspoken weight. "Who are you?" someone in the crowd shouted, demanding clarity that felt so desperately needed. The man stepped closer. "You hold secrets of unimaginable power, child," he said gently but firmly. "The sapphire, your birthright. The others will stop at nothing to reclaim it." Shock crashed over them. The truth spiraled around Alex like a violent wind. Lily was not just a girl. She was a central piece in a game much larger than they could comprehend. But just as the reality sunk in, the shadows began to stir. The dark-suited men, the ones they thought were gone, were lurking at the edges of the park. Their sinister eyes glinted with intent, slipping from the trees like whispers of a long-ignored past. And suddenly, everything Alex held true began to falter, a question echoing in the depths of his mind. Who truly was Lily? And what were the lengths he would have to go to protect the only hope they had? As the authoritative figure's presence deepened, the crowd felt an electric weight in the air. "The Hidden One," he had declared, and now all eyes fixated on Lily, surprise mingling with suspicion. They were caught in a web, threads of destiny tying them around this tiny girl and the sapphire she clutched tightly. "Who are you?" someone finally shouted, breaking the heavy silence. The man stepped forward, brow furrowed. But Alex's focus shifted. The shadows looming at the edge of the park began to stir again. The dark-suited men, reappearing with a purpose glinting in their eyes, infused fear into the atmosphere. "They've returned!" someone gasped. Panic rippled through the crowd, their whispered fears intertwining. "Lily, run!" Tom urged, urgency clawing at his throat, but Lily's eyes, wide, terrified, were locked onto the man in regal attire. "Please, explain," she cried, a quaver threading her voice. "Lily, you don't understand. You are the last bearer of ancient knowledge. The sapphire must be protected at all costs." His words sliced through the tension, rising like smoke. Just then, the men stepped forward, ruthless determination etched into their features. "We know what you all are hiding." The leader's voice boomed. "Hand over the girl and no one gets hurt." "Never!" Tom shouted, stepping protectively in front of Lily, breathing heavily as if his body could ward them off. Alex's mind raced. Could they really protect her? A scream tore through the chaos, shattering the urgency, and everyone turned as one of the onlookers crumpled to the ground. Shockwaves of fear rippled through the crowd around them. "What happened?" someone gasped as others pressed forward. Confusion and concern wrestled for dominance. And then, the unthinkable happened. A blurred figure dashed from behind the trees, arms quick and agile, moving like lightning. With a flick of her wrist, she tossed a small object into the heart of the dark-suited men. The explosion sent shockwaves cascading through the air. Smoke enveloped them in an instant, swallowing the threat whole. "What was that?" someone yelled. Then, amidst the chaos, the smoke settled. And when it dissipated, there she stood, the girl who had stepped forward earlier. But now she wasn't alone. Streaks of light surrounded her, and suddenly she lifted her hands. "You all deserve to know the truth. Lily has to hear it." Gasps erupted around them, disbelief mingling with dread. "What are you talking about?" Lily echoed, her small voice trembling with confusion. The girl pointed to the sapphire, glowing now with an ethereal brilliance. "It's not just a jewel. It binds us to our past, to our fate, and it connects to you, Lily." But before anyone could grasp her words, she stepped into the shimmering light, and with a final flicker, she vanished. The crowd held its breath, disbelief coating the air like frost. Suddenly, a loud crash sounded behind them. The dark-suited men marched forward, unaffected by the smoke, as if they had passed through another realm. "What is happening?" Alex shouted, heart racing, his throat dry with fear, desperate for answers. And then, in the thick of the confusion, the leader of the men turned to Lily, voice low and menacing. "You were never meant to escape. It's your destiny to join us, hidden one." The truth crashed over them all like a tidal wave. "Lily, what destiny? What do they mean?" Tom stumbled backward, realization dawning like the first light of dawn through darkness. Lily's face turned pale, confusion warring with fear. "Destiny?" she whispered, voice trembling. Everything they thought they knew began to shatter. Heart racing, Alex felt the ground beneath him slip away. What dark truths lay buried? Who would betray whom? And as the darkness closed in around them, A question hung heavy in the air. Was Lily truly the protector, or was she the key to their undoing? As the dark-suited men approached, green eyes filled with a burning intensity, Alex felt the ground beneath him reel. "The girl is the key!" one shouted, voice rising above the chaotic whispers. Lily's face blanched, her small hands wrapped tightly around the sapphire. Tom stood his ground, but fear flickered in his eyes. "What do you want from her?" Alex shouted, desperation curling around his heart. The crowd shifted, a tide of confusion and apprehension rolling through them. He saw parents clutching their children and elders edging back, wide-eyed. With a quaking intensity, the leader stepped closer, eyes locked on the sapphire's glow. "It's not just any gem. It holds the power to reshape everything." "Everything?" Tom echoed, incredulity surfacing in his tone. "You can't be serious." "Yes, complete control over fate, lives, the past." He extended a hand toward Lily, beckoning her forward. "Join us, and you can become more than you ever imagined." Suddenly, a piercing scream sliced through the air. A woman, previously indifferent in the crowd, now crumpled to the ground, her eyes wide with horror. People gasped, then instinctively parted, creating a wide circle around her. "What's happening?" someone cried, panic swelling within the spectators. As minutes edged closer to hours, another figure stepped forward. An older man, his hair silver like finely spun threads, face etched with worry. "No!" he bellowed, pointing a shaky finger toward Lily. "You must stop this! She doesn't know!" "What don't I know?" Lily's voice trembled, confusion splintering through her. The crowd shifted, whispers sizzling with anticipation. "Stop what?" But before anyone could answer, the sapphire in Lily's hands ignited an incandescent light, bursting into flames. As a warm voice echoed from the stone itself, "Lily, your true nature is revealed." Alex's heart dropped. "What does that mean?" he gasped. In an instant, the flames morphed into a blinding arc, illuminating the entire park. Shadows danced wildly, and for a heartbeat, everything felt like a dream. The air thickened, swirling with energy, suffocating and electric. Then came a deafening silence. With a slow unraveling, the brightness faded, revealing a different girl standing in front of them. She was older, maybe in her late teens, with long dark hair and a knowing smile that didn't belong. "Can you finally see me?" she said, her voice smooth and melodic, yet chilling at its core. "What is this? Who are you?" Alex stammered, blinking away confusion. "We are her," she replied, gesturing to Lily, who now stood awash in a reality that felt wrong. "What are you talking about?" Tom interjected, anger pushing through his fear. Suddenly, a scream erupted from the crowd. "Run! They're coming!" A flash of dark suits surged, moving like a pack of predators, breaking through the thin skin of a crowded world. "Lily, protect the sapphire!" Alex shouted, but panic was seeping into every corner. A collective breath in fear as the chaos erupted. The older girl's amusement twisted with an unsettling edge. "You think they want her? They want me!" Reality cracked open like an egg. The longing glances from before transformed into shivers of betrayal. "What do you mean they want you?" Alex felt a cold sweat creep down his back. She smiled, that twisted, knowing smile. "I'm the one who created the sapphire. I am the hidden one you all speak of. Lily is merely a vessel, The words slammed into Alex like a fist. Everything he thought he knew splintered into a million shards. Trust shattered. Lives twisted into something dark and unrecognizable. I hid to protect myself, to protect her. But now it's time for the truth. The crowd wailed, confusion and despair echoing into the night. How do we escape? Tom cried, turning to Alex, panic etched into every feature. But all Alex could see was the chaos unfurling fast, shadows closing in like a menacing fog. What do we do? The only thought racing through his mind, the realization that trust was now their enemy. As the darkness enveloped them, chaos reignited. One piercing question loomed over everything. Who had truly been manipulating whom? As the crowd held its breath, everything crystallized into that moment. The older girl's keen, knowing smile twisted into something darker, and for a heartbeat, the world shifted beneath their feet. The men in dark suits loomed like a gathering storm, their eyes glinting with haste and menace. Lily doesn't understand, the leader growled, inching closer, each word heavy with predatory intent. Stay away from her, Tom shouted, stepping protectively in front of Lily. Alex felt the heat surge within him, muscles tense, ready to intervene. Then came the unexpected. A voice echoed from behind them, calm yet resonant. You're all wasting your time. The crowd turned as a figure emerged. It was an elderly woman with striking silver hair cascading over her shoulders. Her blue eyes held an intensity that struck through the chaos. She moved gracefully, despite the tension crackling in the air, like a deer navigating a forest. You know nothing about what this girl is capable of, she said, fingers gripping her cane firmly. And you, she pointed at the older girl, you are not who you pretend to be. The dark-suited men hesitated, momentarily thrown off balance. And who are you to speak? The leader sneered, anger flaring across his features. The woman stood taller. I am her truth, and yours. With a quick flick of her wrist, another shockwave pulsed through the crowd. The sapphire in Lily's hands glowed brighter still, swirling with energy. A hush fell. Alex's heart raced as he watched the chaos refract through the light, images swirling in a kaleidoscope of color. Reveal yourself, the woman commanded, and the sapphire responded as if it were alive, casting beams of light that danced wildly around them. The faces in the crowd shifted, their expressions morphing from fear to awe. Without warning, the sapphire shattered. Light exploded outward, enveloping everyone in a blinding brilliance. Screams echoed, and in that split second, Alex felt a push as if he were caught in a torrent. The world vibrated, and then darkness. When the light faded, the park was transformed. They found themselves in a different place entirely. A vast expanse drenched in mist, shadows crawling along the edges like ghosts. And in the center stood the woman, no longer elderly, but radiant. Her hair flowing like liquid silver, eyes alight with a fierce fire. You see, I am not just a caretaker of secrets. I am the keeper of your past and the harbinger. Who are you? Tom breathed, bewildered. What does this mean? The woman smiled knowingly. I am the essence of what you all hide from, the truth that binds you together. She swept her hand dramatically, and the mist swirled, revealing glimpses of memories. Happy families, joyful laughter, and then ominous whispers. Betrayals, lost connections. Alex's stomach twisted at the waves of pain that rolled through the visions. Relationships shattered, lives intertwining and fracturing. Then she turned her gaze toward Lily. And you, child, are the culmination of it all. The last of a legacy you never knew you were born into. The air crackled with a new intensity. Fear filled every heart, and disbelief flooded the crowd. Families gasped, couples clutched each other. Lily stood frozen, eyes wide, confusion biting at her innocence. What legacy? She trembled, her small body shaking. And that's when everything exploded, literally. A thunderous crack echoed, a fissure splitting the ground beneath them as darkness surged forth. Figures cloaked in shadows emerged, their faces masked, a haunting reminder of the hunters from before. Those who had been watching, waiting. The crowd panicked, voices rising into the air. What's happening? Are we trapped? But as terror erupted, the woman's voice cut through, powerful and commanding. Lily, listen closely. It is time for you to choose. Do you accept your destiny, or do you hide from the truth? Caught in the maelstrom, Alex felt a raw sort of disbelief. It was a question not just for Lily, but for everyone. The very fabric of their lives had begun to unravel. Relationships, collusion, danger, all spinning like a whirlwind around them, leaving only one haunting possibility. And with that, as the shadows reached for the crowd, everything teetered on the edge. Who would rise to the occasion, and who would be lost forever to the dark mist? In that moment, one question burned. Was Lily the key to their survival, or their ultimate downfall? Lily clutched the shattered sapphire tightly, the glow radiating warmth, even amid the chaos. The older woman, full of grace and power, stood resolute against the encroaching shadows. You have the strength within you, Lily. You must choose. Lily's eyes darted back and forth between the men advancing hungrily, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. What do you want from me? She cried, the tremor in her voice melting into pure fear. Your power, the leader hissed, to control what lies ahead. Don't you see? You are not just a girl on the street. Seizing the moment, he stepped forward, menacing. Embrace your legacy. Tom shouted, No, don't listen to him. He stepped closer, protecting Lily, desperation clear in his eyes. Alex felt the pull of their shared fear. How had everything turned upside down? Choose, Lily, the woman repeated, strong, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. You can save everyone, or you can let chaos reign. The shadows paused, as if waiting on her every word. The crowd held its breath, fear rippling like electricity. Lily's small hands shook, her knuckles white as she turned the broken sapphire in her grasp, examining it as tears blurred her vision. I don't want any of this, she pleaded, her voice cracking. I just wanted to eat soup. Alex felt a lump rising in his throat. She was just a child, vibrant and innocent, yet caught in this web of dark ambitions and heavy legacies. Soup is more than just food, Lily, the woman intoned. It symbolizes kindness, sharing. You have the heart to change everything. The choice is yours. Silence hung thick in the air. The dark men shifted, tension coiling between them like a snake ready to strike. With trembling resolve, Lily finally spoke. "I know who I am. I won't let you use me." The glow from the sapphire flared, illuminating her small face like dawn breaking through a storm. The ground shook, a tremor racing through the crowd as shadows recoiled, snarling. "No, it's not supposed to be like this," the leader shouted, a flicker of panic in his voice. "Stand strong, Lily," Tom urged, eyes fierce. The older woman raised her arms, a barrier of light blossoming around them, forming a halo that danced and twinkled in the fog. The shadows writhed, unable to break through. "Protect what's good, reject the darkness. Together!" Alex shouted, adrenaline surging through him. He stepped up beside Tom, hands clenched at his sides. "We are with you, Lily." With newfound strength, Lily shouted, "I choose to protect the light." The sapphire erupted in a blinding flash, surging waves of energy cascading outward, engulfing the dark men. In that moment, the shadows evaporated, their sinister snarls silenced in a whoosh, replaced by laughter of the children nearby, spread across vibrant fields of flowers. Slowly, the park transformed anew, colors vibrant as the sun warmed the space. Lily blinked, disoriented, yet whole. The older woman smiled knowingly. "You have broken the cycle. You have the power to shape the future." As the crowd cheered, relief flooded Alex's chest. But beneath that, a tension still simmered. What other truths lay hidden? "What now?" Tom asked, glancing at Lily, who looked both small and mighty. Lily looked up, resolve hardening in her gaze. "We find others like me. Share our stories." Around them, the crowd celebrated, but a sense of responsibility settled in the air. Shadows lingered, and mysteries waited to be uncovered. "Are you ready to battle the past and fight for the future?" the older woman asked, her sage eyes resting on Lily. "I am," Lily replied, a glimmer of hope in her determination. And as the sun painted the horizon with gold, they knew this was just the beginning of a powerful journey. What would they uncover? What truths remained hidden in the shadows? If you want to join us on this epic journey, you must subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Press the like button now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Share this video immediately with at least 5 friends who need to know this ending. Don't wait 1 second longer to show your support. Together, let's uncover the mysteries.